So I want to wish all of you members of City Hindus and everybody beyond that a very happy and prosperous Diwali. Welcome to City Hindus Network. If you're new to it, I, as president, have the privilege of heading up the organization. And I hope if you're not already a member, you will join. So what's the past 12 months been like? Well, we've not been able to have in-person events, but I hope through our social media presence on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, we've been able to disseminate the messages from our membership, from our wonderful advisory board on the great works they're doing, particularly in the works they did during the need for oxygen, both in the UK and in India, and the work they're doing for the homeless in the run-up to Christmas as well, and all year round. So if you've not been introduced to our advisory board, please have a look at the website, cityhindus.org, and have a look there. Of course, at this time when I speak to you, Hindus are being massacred in Bangladesh. And it's not for the first time. When it was East Pakistan, exactly 50 years ago, a thing called Operation Searchlight was implemented against Hindus specifically, and targeting them through what was well regarded by legal jurists as war crimes, genocide in particular, and crimes against humanity. And let's take that point about humanity. It's not simply because I'm a Hindu that I'm highlighting that particular massacre, that particular genocide. We have, through our tweets, highlighted genocides against, for instance, the Uyghurs in China. It is humanity that is the point. The fact that we relate more to people who are like us, whether they are Hindu, whether they are of Indian origin, whether they're British by nationality, whether it's the color of their skin, they happen to be brown, and therefore we take a stand against racism. Of course, we relate to things which are more proximate to us through things that we identify with, whether nationality, religion, race, or gender. But of course, as Hindus, we're also taught to relate to broader humanity. We are taught that the entire universe is what we are made from. And therefore, it is not simply as a Hindu, when we raise this issue, that we are raising it purely only for Hindus, but it is the fact that we're trying to make all humanity better. I think that's what Mahatma Gandhi was trying to do, and I think it's a message which has shone through Hinduism for 5,000 odd years, because after all, it was the only religion there ever was, or not even a religion, a way of life that there ever was, when initially those Vedas were passed on by word of mouth. So in trying to uplift humanity, we're trying not to say we are the best, and that would be a fault. That would be us aping other religions. What we're trying to say is we want to find the best in us, and thereby all of us in humanity as a whole. So I don't want to be sectarian. I don't want to be us against them. And it's very tempting to do that. It's very tempting to point fingers. It's very tempting to waste hours on social media trying to be a keyboard warrior against somebody with one following and probably the same number of brain cells. Instead, if we look beyond that and say, well, what are the bigger ideas? Instead of just talking about the people, as Eleanor Roosevelt once said, instead of that, we talk, as great people do, about great ideas. And the great ideas that come from Hinduism are about humanity. I hope this Diwali, we won't just be celebrating, of course, the victory of good and light over darkness and evil, and the evil and darkness we see falling through the Taliban over Afghanistan, or in other parts of the world that we don't even hear about on our news screens, whether it's in parts of Africa or whether it's in parts of China, or indeed in parts of what is for many of us our beloved homeland, ancestral home of India. But instead, I hope beyond just the celebrations, we'll remember that that story, the story of Ram and Sita, is not something which is just either myth or story, but is actually something which is alive today. The whole point of it, that we have to fight that evil through nobility, through those virtues, those great virtues, which are universal. That's what will define us as Hindus, and leaving our mark to make humanity better and uplift all of it. I hope in some small way, the powerful unit that City Hindus represent, because it is representing people who happen to be Hindu, but from the city. And imagine the amount of financial force, the amount of power that those individuals have. I hope through that voice and vehicle, we'll be able to uplift others. Yes, we will, whenever we can, as a collective or individually, through whatever numerous things we're doing, stand up to be counted, have our voices heard, and if need be, very, very vocally, and convene others to do the same and be a force for change and good. What you won't see us doing is aping, and neither should we ever seek to do, aping the violence we see inflicted upon us, aping the hatred we see heaped upon us. It's not to do with being better as a Hindu. It is about being better as a human, and that is what our Dharma teaches us, to be better as a human. And therefore, I expect both through City Hindus and Hindus universally to make that force for change, to pressure those governments we feel are not doing enough, for instance, in Bangladesh, to protect people who are like us, but more importantly, all governments, to protect all of those minorities, all of the vulnerable in all countries, including our beloved India as well, including Britain as well, to be a voice for the voiceless, to protect and to serve, as the Americans might say, because after all, that is what brings us closer to Lord Ram and Sita and the story of Diwali itself as well, and to have the strength and perseverance of Hanuman and the loyalty of Lakshman. So I wish you all a wonderful Diwali, and I wish you all the strength and courage to improve humanity in the year ahead. Thank you.